Hello, everyone. Hope you have a good day. Today is the end of October. This is the second video we're going to record. As some reflection from the last video, if you haven't seen it yet, you can go to find it out in the playlist, How to Manage Money, the first one. I think it's a little bit long. It's 42 minutes. It's trying to acting like a beginner to implement some scenarios, to set it up, and find out the issues and fix it, and eventually, get things done. But from this video, I want to make a little bit change. I want to complex it a little bit and put some more focus on specific topic. So what are we going to talk about today? I thought about it. I think categorization is very fundamental. It's a very fundamental thing to talk about. Even though the first step probably is get your data, like connect your bank, but I think that one is everybody knows how to follow the wizard and get it done. So I think categorization, clean up your data, put your data in a clean way, in a tidy way, I think is super important. So today let's talk about that. First, so what is categorization? Categorization is basically you are trying to assign each activity into a preset category. On FINA, category is super flexible. There are many ways talking about flexibilities. Let's take a look. For every single profile you have, I internally we call it a console. A little bit of technical term, but a console means you have your account set up, everything here. You can open up and see your credit card status, right? By the way, we have some new things you probably haven't seen yet, which is pay date and next payment amount, upcoming amount for credit, mortgage, or student loan. Transaction is basically transaction tab is listing all transactions, and you have quite a lot of options here to operate, to filter, to see some summarizations, right? So the third one is very, very important one. I think it's also instant view about how you categories. It's categorization, categories tab. Last two actually based on the usage, I think people use it very, very less often. It's obvious because rules is basically the way to hosting to help you to manage rules. But usually, is you create rules in transactions, not from rules directly most of the time. So talking about categories, categories has three basic area. We call it. It's super important concept. First area is called expense. Expense is basically outflowing. It's like all my outflow transactions, what type do they belong to? These are all categories you set up for outflow transactions. Income is very, very straightforward. It's everything in inflow, right? How money I get, from external. So this is income. The last one is not ignorable. It's basically transfers. This is very, very important to make transactions right, because transfers are not counted in cash flow. No matter what kind of reports or metrics later you are dealing with, transfers are treated as transparent. Why? Because transfer basically means you are moving money from internally, like you one account to another account. So this one is very clear, right? For example, if you have a checking account in connected on FINA, and you have your credit card, you connected. But every month you are using money from, moving money from your checking account to pay credit card last statement balance. That is counted as transfer. Why? Because you outflow is coming from those transactions from your credit card already. So they are treated as outflow. And the money between your account, your checking account to your credit card, that's transfer. But some people may ask, oh, unfortunately, I cannot connect my credit card, let's say, or I cannot connect my checking account. So you're losing one end of this pair, like two sides of this pair. You're losing one side of it. You basically lose the balance, which means you cannot count it that payment. Like take this example, take this credit card payment as an example. You cannot use it, count it as transfer, because one of your ends like flow, like cash flow transactions is not in the system. So if you pay in you credit card balance from your checking account, but you only have a checking account here, that's your outflow because your credit card is not here. So is that clear? I hope this concept is clear. So this is very, very important. A lot of people get confused, right? What is transfer? What kind of transactions I should market transfer? It's if you have accounts in FINA, right? And you already like counted their transactions, the money between the accounts is transfer, and you should mark them as transfer. So the transfer usually like the stock trade, like in your investment account, you have a lot of like sell and buy. The money is just like happening inside your account. But if you have a gain, that's an extra separate thing. But this is like those kind of transactions. I mean, you mark them as transfer, right? Credit card payment, I already explained. Use this as one example. Let me look at my time. Did I already spend like six minutes already explain this single concept? All right, second thing. The preset categories here is updatable, is modifiable. It's basically you can delete any of them. You can click and just like to make changes of the name. You can change click this to change the icon for that category, and you can delete that category, right? No need to feel sorry about it because you need to set up the way that works for you. Okay, so this is the first thing I want to mention, and you can add new categories, and you can move them around, right? Adjust the adjust the order or something, right? You can easily to keep them organized in your own way. So this is the first thing. The second thing is not related, but by the way, every single numbers you see on FINA, you can always click it. So this is like principle. This is sometimes we are just cannot handle that. That's the corner case, but most of the time, majority of the time, if you see the number, you click it, you can always bring the details up. So I think this is the shining part of the FINA. I don't want it to become a hidden gem because everybody needs to know that. Every time you see a number, you click it and you get the details of how the number is get calculated. Okay, so this is something I just want to mention by the way. So next thing about a category is basically we are enable people sharing category setup in the community. So what that means is if you set up something, that's your principle. That's the way how you're tracking your money. Some people I see, they are setting the categories of super simple. That's like 3 or 4 categories, like dictionary, is the word I said right or not? Flexed, fixed, and refund, or just a few very, very simple, high level. They just want to keep things simple, right? So this is one way. This is one principle. Another principle, some people just coming up with super detailed, like eating out, restaurant, fast food, and even detailed as like merchant, like McDonald's, So it's really, really different people's opinions, different people's methodologies. That's why I would encourage every single person, if you have any special and you represent, a group of people, or you think your method need to be known by people, publish it. Publish it is very simple. Just share it. For example, like my category setup, I already shared it as an ID. I click this ID, I can, this is public. Everybody can see my category setup. You can share this URL with people, right? And if you want to import some other people's categories, just copy that ID based on the URL. People just give you ID and just import it. And you can see here we have different ways to do it. You want to import some categories from another profile. This is a little bit complicated, maybe you think, but this is basically all my profiles. So I can, set up in one profile, copy to another profile. By the way, mostly essential tiers people is have one profile, but actually Fina supports multiple profile. Each profile has independent, completely set up for your finance tracking. It's trying to represent one side of your life, finance life. For example, you have side business, you have family, you want to manage finances for your parents or for your kids, you can separate them. So this is like called the multiple profile functions. That's why you see I have multiple profiles here. I separate my businesses and my personal, and I don't want to let my investment pollute my daily cash flow checking. So that's why I separate them as one profile is called just connect the investment accounts. Okay, so last one is basically you are paste the ID you copied from sharing by other people, and you can just paste the ID there, and yeah, once you paste the ID, paste something, connect. This is wrong. Okay. Last thing, we are maintaining a gallery. This gallery actually, it's just like we have page templates. We also have category templates. Like for example, we have coarse-grained setup, right? Which is a super simple setup. For example, here you can see I have my income is just regular income. My expenses is just like spending fixed, spending unfixed, saving short term, saving long term, sharing, and transfer. This is a super like macro level kind of like tracking, like for lazy people. I should not call that, but I'm just joking. Lazy people. Okay. So then next one you can see is like fine-grained setup. Fine-grained setup, as you can see, is much more detailed setup. It's not just one level, it has two levels. So you have groups, right? This is like for people who wants to dive into the details, have a fine control of the financial life and the financial, tracking, right? So this is for another type. And there's other like for specific like scenario tracking based kind of like a setup. For example, like family categories. I just quickly look at that. There's a lot of things related to family activities. Freelancer categories, a lot of things is like related to freelancer. Project management related, salary like travel, or legal stuff. You can see it's quite related to the business itself. And then you see business categories. We even have wedding categories, like for temporary, for people temporary, like using it. I will talk about this concept later. Why we can let people to handle the finances temporary, and at different time stage or different life stages, they can completely swap like different category setup for them. I will show that later. And then you can see we have rule 50, 30, 20 rules based category setup. You can see we have fixed, flex, future, and then we have a couple of transfers and income tracking. The majority of like principle was like reflected in this category setup. I really like this. My main kind of like the personal profile actually is using this category setup basically. I opened a lot of like examples. So let me stop here. And the last one is Fina default. This is like every new users get. So swapping them is very simple. Like you can just click. If I want to swap to this, I can just click and I can snapshot and import. So now comes to the concept we just touched, snapshot. What is a snapshot? Fina is super flexible. It's basically allow you to take snapshot, which means, hey, my setup, I already experimented this like for 3 months. And I want to try different category setup and see if that works better for me. So I can take snapshot. I can save this state, like the way how I track in including rules, right? You set up rules based on transaction match and categorize in this way, and you save these rules together with the category tree. So that will become one version, and then I can manage my the snapshot. You can see I actually took some of the snapshots. At any time I want to restore to it, I can just click to restore to it. Like I can use this snapshot. So every your whole system, like for this profile, is completely restored to that setup. Like rules will be kicked in to completely change your data, and that category setup will become your current setup. And why when you import, why it says a snapshot and import, because it automatically takes snapshot for you. So in the future you can restore it. This is super flexible because you can literally on Fina testing out or try out any category setups at any time, and if you don't like it, you can just revert and switch back. So today we have talked about a few quick the concepts. It's about how we use the flexibility, like leverage the flexibility of Fina, and set up the ideal categories you want, and also more importantly engage with the community, like sharing you set up with people, or browse the sharings from others and try out different ways to track in your finance. Okay, that's it. Like I said, I want to keep the focus on single topic. Today we're talking about categories. Fina not only support categories but also support like tags. Tags cannot be like that big because tag is very simple concept. So what about I just like borrow extra 1 or 2 minutes to just give you a concept about tags. Tags is basically it's in addition to category, every transactions you can actually tag them. In my opinion, tag is mostly used for scenario. For example, I go out to do a vacation. I can do all kinds of like transactions in different categories, but they all belong to this trip, to this vacation. So I can tag them with one vacation, right? I tag them, and later I can report, oh, how much I spend for this vacation compared to last year's vacation. So tagging is simple. You can just like here, just specify a tag, or you can create a new tag. That's tag. In terms of data analysis and reporting, you can use in tag and categories nearly in the same way. Filter, you have both of them, right? I filter by tag, I filter by category. I want to see my total expenses breakdown by tag, breakdown by category. So it's pretty much similar thing, but they are for different purpose. And interestingly, a lot of people like using categories to do the budgeting, right? And people can also using tag for the budgeting, because budgeting on Fina is actually super flexible too. How about let's leave this to the next talk about flexible budgeting. You can budget in at any time range, from any time range, for based on any metric. Like I want to budget for specific tag, like for upcoming Christmas is my tag, but I want to constrain my budget, on Christmas related like spending, like to $2,000, let's say, right? Something like that. So it's flexible because you're thinking about this is all building blocks, right? Like categories, tags, merchant, time, and all these things we eventually will be baked into the metric that you're tracking. That's something we demonstrated from last video. All right, I think I really need to stop. Otherwise, I think it's endless talking. I hope you get a better understanding about categories. If I blah 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 talking too much, hopefully next time I can make it refine a little bit more. Thank you so much. Bye bye.